Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And I think I'm nailing those intros. And because I'm nailing those intros and not screwing them up, I think it's probably time to change them. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to look too professional and polished in front of everybody. On this episode, we are going to talk about EV news. That includes Tesla news this time. But before we get into that, David, who lives in Canada, wanted to pass along an iOS app after hearing Mark's recommendation from last week's episode, which was a really cool website where you could see in real time where the power in the UK was being generated. So David is recommending GridWatch Ontario edition. Ontario. Let me see. Go back to my notes here. Ontario edition. There we go. It's on iOS. There might be an Android version. I'm not sure. Obviously, this is going to tell you the energy production for Ontario, Canada, the province, which is like the southeast part of Canada. Like it kind of starts up by Minnesota and then goes all the way to New York. What I'm trying to say is it's a big province. So I downloaded the app, and here was the breakdown as of this recording. Now I need to let you know that it is nighttime in Canada right now. So here's the breakdown of the power sources. 49% nuclear, 25% gas. A friend of mine makes fun of the way I say nuclear. 21% hydro. I know that Manitoba has a big hydro dam. I don't know if the energy's coming from that or not. 3.2% wind and 0% solar. So that is rough numbers of how Canada, or at least Ontario, is getting their power this evening. I want to give David a big thank you for the recommendation. I did not know that this kind of thing existed, honestly. So it's kind of cool. If you have a recommendation, just send them to me, Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com. All right, let's get into our EV news. We're going to start off with a lot of software updates. The Volvo EX90, EX30, and XC90, they're going to get a big software update. The biggest part of this update, or the most important, I guess, part of this update that was highlighted in the article is that there's a new Google infotainment screen with a brand new interface. Now, there are 2.5 million Volvos that are going to get this update, but you have to wait till 2025. And if you happen to own a Volvo and you're like, well, do I qualify for this infotainment update? The answer is maybe. Do you own a 2022 or newer Volvo EX90, EX30, or XC90 that came equipped with a Google infotainment system? If so, then yes. Moving on, if you own a Ford electric vehicle and you live in Southern California, then you could get a little extra money. So here's how it works. Southern California Edison will compensate Ford EV owners for reducing their electricity demand when the grid is starting to become overwhelmed. So basically, all you have to do is when the grid's getting hit really hard, not charge your car and, be reasonable about all the other electricity you're using, and you're good to go. You're going to get a little bit of money. If you happen to have a Ford vehicle and the vehicle to grid equipment, so if you have a Ford EV and you can actually power your house or power the grid, they will give you some extra compensation on top of you not charging your car during those peak times. I do not know how much you get if you're supplying electricity to the grid, but you'll get $1 a kilowatt hour for the energy that you're not using during peak demand times. So I'm guessing, Southern California Edison is going to average out what you normally use, and whatever that average comes out to, whatever is less than that, you get $1 a kilowatt hour. I'm not sure how they're figuring this out, but not too bad. I mean, you get a little extra money and you don't have to do anything for it. I'm not even in California, but I'll gladly sign up to that. Let's talk about Lucid Motors. Lucid gave us a peek of their new midsize crossover EV at their manufacturing and technology event. Now, I use an app to listen to earnings calls called Quarter. That's Quattr. It's a good app. So if you're interested in earnings calls and businessy related conference stuff, it's a really well done app. And Quarter live streamed the technology and manufacturing event that Lucid gave. I think it was on Tuesday. I'm going to be honest with you. I was not able to find this anywhere else. Like, I was looking for a video version so I could see what they were talking about. Couldn't find it anywhere. Not on Lucid's website, not on their YouTube channel. You can stream the audio on Lucid's investor relations page, but you can't actually watch the event, which I think is, a little bit of a missed bet on Lucid's part, because I think it would have been more fascinating to actually be able to see it. Anyway, Lucid gave us a sneak peek of their new mid-size crossover EV at this manufacturing and technology event. The image shows more than most preview images of this kind will show, but it doesn't show much. It's kind of hard to tell. We have a vague idea of what the shape is going to be, and that's about it. We also know that it's going to cost $50,000. So they gave that a little tease. Lucid also earlier this week released a new software update, which included, and I'm going to go run down some of these things in a little bit more detail, but included 3D lane visualization and turn-by-turn navigation with Apple CarPlay. So obviously, the 3D lane visualization feature is one of their Dream Drive, their autonomous driving features. It offers 3D visualizations on the center screen and gives the driver a more complete view of their surroundings on the highway. Tesla does this. Tesla does this with full self-driving, and it looks amazing. I don't have full self-driving, so it looks pretty good, but I don't have the full view that full self-driving folks do. But it's pretty cool. Another feature coming to Dream Drive is the Highway Assist, which I'm going to guess is like their version of autopilot, but it utilizes high definition maps so the drivers can see where the HOV lanes are, the exits, the lane merges, and the splits, and it can also be used on curves. So that is, I would imagine, pretty useful. Driver initiated lane changes. So all you do is long press the turn signal and it will change lanes for you. And then extended stop and go, which allows vehicles to resume traveling after long stops, which is, obviously due to bumper traffic. And then Lucid removed one feature and added another. Previously, Lucid used the Amazon A-Lady for the voice controls or the voice assistant in the car. Now there's a new voice assistant called Lucid Assistant. All right, I have one more story in our EV news segment, and I'm gonna say the title of this article was like "Best EVs for Families," and I read it and I was like, "For whose family?" Because three out of the five cars that they showed off were over $60,000. Like, they're talking about the R1S, the Silverado pickup truck EV, which is a great looking truck, but it's also $94,000. What else was there? Oh, a BMW EV that was like $89,000. I was like, dude, I mean, that's probably a good car for families, but it's also a car for a few families, not for necessarily my family. So I thought that I would kind of start off with their recommendations and add a few of my own. So we got the Kia EV9. If you didn't know, that's the bigger SUV. It seats 7. It tops out at 304-mile range, but that's at the high-end trim. It's about 280, 260, somewhere around there for the more affordable model, which cost $54,900. And then you have the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which is what they added, but I would include the Kia EV6 because it's also a really good vehicle, and they're cousins. Seats 5 people, tops out around 300 miles of range, starts at $41,800. Now, I will say that there's a deal right now. Kia will knock up to $9,000 off the price of an EV9 or EV6 if you own or lease a Tesla. Now, I don't know exactly what you need to do to get the full $9,000 off the price of one of these two vehicles, but that's a pretty good incentive for sure. Especially if you don't have to trade your car in or do anything like that. If you could just have a Tesla and then your spouse or significant other could could just get $9,000 off their EV, what a great deal. These are some of the ones that I added here, and I'm not going to go through all the prices because I don't want to take a bunch of your time. And I also know that sometimes when I read off a bunch of numbers, it becomes number salad and it's hard to sort out. But you got the Volvo EX30, which is a really good, affordable EV. Starts at $36,000. You have the Chevy Equinox EV, which is roughly the same in that $40,000 range. The Hyundai Kona and Kia Niro EVs, they're right around 31,000 to $41,000 depending on which one you're looking at. So these are good options as well. You're going to seat 5 people, you're not seating 7. The Nissan Leaf is always a great option at $29,000. And a car that I don't talk about very often, but the Mini Cooper EV, I've been seeing this recommended more often. And I don't know if it's just because I started noticing it more, and it's always been around, or if it's just reviewing very well. But I just thought I would mention that. So if you're in the market for a car and for your family or just for yourself and you want a family sized car, check out one of those cars. Like we all have our, preferences and what we like about certain cars and our little bugaboos here and there. But honestly, these are all really good cars. You might like one more than the other, but I don't think you could go wrong. All right, that completes our EV news. I do want to let you know that we have a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/kilowatt or support kilowatt.com. Sign up for as little as $1, and all the ads are taken away. And you're supporting the show. All of the money that you get from Patreon goes right back into the show. None of the money goes into my own pocket. It goes to pay for things like software. Like my mic, I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes my mic is starting to pop and hiss a little bit. It's about time for the mic to be replaced. It's about 8 years old. This is not a cheap mic. It's a $400 mic, and I'll probably replace it with a different $400 mic. The audio interface that I have, when I replace the mic, I'm going to replace the audio interface, and that audio interface will become a travel audio interface. So, like the podcast costs money, and this is how I pay for it with the Patreon money, and in addition to that, all of the ad revenue. In terms of how financially lucrative this podcast is, it's not. Um, it comes close to breaking even, but it doesn't break even. So my point is to all of this, if you would like to support the show, go to patreon.com/kilowatt and support the show. If you cannot support financially, that's totally okay. I'm only asking for $1. But if you can't support financially, I don't mind. If you think somebody will like this show, please recommend the show. And that is also a good way to support this show. All right, let's move on to our Tesla news. Tesla's latest smart summon feature is being pushed out to vehicles. So if you have full self-driving, you get access to actual smart summon. It was formerly called smart summon, but Tesla decided to be juvenile, and I'm sure I know who decided to this naming convention is at the very top. They decided to name it actual smart summon, so the acronym is ASS. So pretty juvenile. However, I do recognize that the acronym for Smart Summon, which would be SS, does have some problematic. It's problematic. So maybe ASS is better. If you're not sure what Smart Summon is, basically you could park your car, walk into the grocery store, do your grocery shopping, and then walk out to the curb, hit a button in the app. The car will unpark itself and then hopefully safely navigate the parking lot and come to you. Now, I haven't seen too much on the second iteration of this feature, but the first iteration of this feature did not do well. This came out a couple of years ago. It did not have the greatest reviews, but the second iteration, from what I can tell, seems to be getting pretty good reviews. I don't actually have this feature because I don't have full self-driving, so I will rely on the folks who do have full self-driving to let me know what their thoughts are. Right. Tesla took to X and they gave us a roadmap for full self driving. Since we're talking about full self driving, let's round it out with this. So let's run this down real quick. In September of 2024, Tesla will release version full self driving version 12.5.2, which will have 3 times improved miles between necessary interventions. I'm very curious as to what a necessary intervention will be. Shortly after that, Tesla will release 12.5.2 on the AI 3 computer, which we used to call a hardware 3. If you remember right, Tesla had to fork development on full self driving for hardware or AI 4 vehicles and AI 3 vehicles. Let's see. Another feature that's coming in September is actual smart summon. Talked about that. Cybertruck Auto Park. Auto Park, when I had the beta for full self driving, Auto Park was my favorite feature. It felt magical. It did really, really well. So it's pretty cool. Eye tracking with sunglasses. So if you remember right, Tesla did a little update and a few months ago, and it took away the need for the driver to touch the steering wheel so much while driving in full self driving because the car is tracking your eyeballs. Now it will do it through sunglasses. I'm not sure on what this one is. It's end to end network on highway. So I'm curious about that. And then, and then it says the last one for September 2024 Cybertruck full self driving. We'll see. We'll see. In October 2024, we have unpark, park, and reverse in full self driving. And then we'll get version 13 of full self driving in October 2024, which is 6 time improved miles between necessary interventions. Again, what's a necessary intervention? And it's around 6 times, it says. It's not exactly 6 times. And then we talked about this last episode in Q1 2025. We are going to get FSD released in China and Europe, and that is, of course, pending regulatory approval. Let's talk about Hacker Green the Only. As Mr. Green the Only does, he was combing through some Tesla software and found that Tesla will likely roll out a new feature that will help improve child safety, especially in places like Arizona. The feature will actually alert drivers that they left their child in the car. And you're thinking to yourself, because I'm sure everybody does this, why would you leave your child in the car? Well, parents are sleep deprived. I was terrified that I was going to leave my kids in the car when my kids were little, and it happens a lot. Like recently, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a call where a mom used the auto start feature for the vehicle, and she put her keys down, put the baby in the car, closed the door locked, and the baby's still in the car. Now, this is Arizona. It's like 108 degrees. We've had over 100 days of over 100-degree temperatures. It's like 108. It's kind of humid outside. We get there because she used the auto start. The car actually turned off. So we did not. Normally, what we'll do is we'll try to use our tools to open the door and cause as little damage as possible. But because this was a small baby, she was in the car seat. The car was not on. We actually took the window, which, which mom was very appreciative of listening to the conversation that she was having with dad. He was not as appreciative of our efforts in getting the baby out. But I will say the baby was sweaty and hot, which is better than hot and dry. But yeah, everybody came out fine. They just had to replace their window, and our new guy got to break a window. which we always try to avoid doing. We don't want to cause damage to your vehicle. However, how often do you get to break a car window? It is pretty fun when you get to do it, but we are professionals and we only do it when we absolutely need to. Let's move on to Robotaxi. Robotaxi may come equipped with wireless charging technology, according to a patent filing. And to this, I say, maybe it's possible. Like, we know Tesla's already working on this technology. If you have a fleet of robot cars out there, they're not going to plug themselves in. So they have to have some sort of charging system, and wireless makes the most amount of sense. But just because it's a patent does not mean that Tesla's going to do it. They file patents all the time. And that brings us to our final story. A Wall Street Journal report suggested that Tesla and one of Elon Musk's other companies, xAI, are working on a deal where Tesla would license xAI models to help develop technologies like full self-driving. Elon did post on X, and I'm going to read part of his post, not all of it, where he said, haven't read the article, but the above is not correct. Tesla has learned a lot from discussions with engineers at xAI that they have helped accelerate achieving unsupervised FSD, but there is no need to license anything from xAI. Now, does that mean there is no need to borrow technology from xAI, like models and things like that? No, that's not what he said. He said there's no need to pay for that. This is mixing some things that I know a lot of Tesla shareholders do not like. Like, I can't remember the shareholder's name, but there's a really big individual shareholder who hates this. He believes that because Elon is the CEO of Tesla and xAI is close enough to what Tesla does and was developed at the same time, and there was even engineers going, to xAI from Tesla and SpaceX and a bunch of other places, that is actually owned by Tesla. Now, I don't know where the legal argument of this lies, right? I don't know if that is legally true or not. I know that is a strong feeling amongst some Tesla shareholders. And I would imagine that if this continues back and forth like it is, there will be a lawsuit to try to sort out, does Tesla own xAI, or is this just something that Elon can do on his own? Yeah, but that's it. That's our whole show today. I realize this was a little late, and I apologize. I got slammed. I just had a really busy week, and this is when I could finally get the episode out. So I apologize about being so late on this. Friday's episode should be out as normal. So with any luck, no more late episodes. I actually, for a different project, I actually bought some lavalier mics that I can travel with and record on. So that might be something that I do in the future, is if I can't get to my little podcasting studio, because I have kids. My kids are of the age where they are very busy with activities, and we're not at the house very often. There's school activities. There's, like, tonight we had an athletic activity for the kids, and then we had parent-teacher conferences. Like, there's a lot going on in the lives of me and my family. And I think that having these little lavalier mics, while I bought them again for a different purpose, they might be beneficial to getting this show out on time. So I'm gonna play with them. I just got them the other day. I haven't even really used them, so I'll test them out and we'll see how it goes. All right, everybody, that is it for me this week. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you